Cindy, aka Disney Queen. I promised last week that I was going to come back with videos pertaining to my vacation planner and how I plan my vacations. And the first thing I would say is planning a Disney vacation is kind of unlike any other vacation that you would ever plan. And I say that because there's so many factors that you have to consider when planning a Disney planning a Disney vacation. And one of the first things that I did when I first started planning, and our first trip was back in 1998, I started looking online to see what I could find out about Disney. I even got books, and some of these are kind of old. I picked up different planning guides, and I got Frommer's Walt Disney World and Orlando planning guide. That was one of the ones that I got. I also got the Birnbaum's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Birnbaum's Walt Disney World planning video, and they even have a kids one and an adult one if you're just going with adults. And I also picked up the unofficial Walt Disney World guide. Those were my three go-tos. But then I started going online, and two of my favorite places to look for information and the most up-to-date information, because things are always changing at Disney, was WaltDisneyWorldInfo.com, which is run by Pete Warner. And I joined like the forums a long time ago. Like I said, I first started planning planning videos. I first started planning trips back in 1998 when my family took our first trip, and it got so bad. This is how bad it got. I actually got carpal tunnel from being on the computer so much, and my first binder was about this thick, and we drove so I could take it with me. And then over the years I've done several different binders, and so my latest binder, like I said, I showed it last week. One of the first things that I decide when I'm planning a trip is, first of all, what time of the year we're gonna go. We've gone in December, we've gone in May, we've gone in June, and we've gone in August several times. We probably are not going to be doing the summer months anymore, just because it is so hot, and there's no reason for us to, because we don't have young children that are in school, so it's not like we're going to take anyone out of school. And this trip is still undecided who's actually going to be going, but as of right now, it's going to be my husband and myself, and my youngest daughter, who did not get to go the last year. My oldest daughter is still trying to decide for sure what it is she wants to do, because she really wants to take a cruise. Now, we're up to taking a cruise too, but that may not happen, or it may. And if it does, then I will even talk about our experience planning our first cruise, which would be very interesting. It won't technically be my first cruise, because my youngest daughter, who's going with us, has already been on one. We've already been on one, but my husband and my oldest daughter have not. I know that sounded confusing, but anyway. So once we decide when we're going to actually go, because we've gone so many times, we kind of know what it is that we want to do and how we're going to go about doing it. And I'm the planner in the family. I basically just send them the information. Most of the time they leave it up to me, and then we each choose somewhere where we're going to eat a special meal. And this time I'm going to talk about that when we get to that section. But for right now, what we've decided to do, and we'll be making plans to do this pretty soon. I'm actually getting excited, even though it's actually a year away that we're actually going to be going. For me, the planning is like just as much fun as being there. Not quite the same, but it's still a lot of fun. Once we decide when we're going, then I decide where we're going to stay. And for the most part, if we have not stayed off-site, and that might even do a separate video of what it's been like for us to stay off-site versus staying on-site, because a lot of things have changed over the years at Disney since we first started going. And so there's always a possibility that we'll get to a point where we might stay off-site just for budget reasons. So because we're on a very slim budget and it costs a lot of money to go to Disney, we usually stay at the value resorts. we've stayed at one deluxe resort, and to this day I do not know what happened, except that I think I looked online and there was like this really big special, and we were trying to, it was at Christmas time, so we were trying to really surprise our kids and take them for like a once in a lifetime trip, because at the time we really weren't sure if we were ever going to get to go back again. Many years later, we've gone back several times. So once we decide when we're going, then we decide where we're going to stay. We've stayed at every value resort, because Disney has value resorts, moderate resorts, deluxe resorts, and then they have like timeshare type resorts. And then there are resorts that aren't Disney owned but have permission from Disney. They've built, close enough to Disney that they're like on Disney property. And we have not actually looked into staying in any of those because the prices are pretty steep. And for us, when we go, the room is not as much as important, because we tend to not stay in the room except for to go to sleep. So if you're one of those people who really knows that you're going to just immerse yourself in the park and you're just going to stay, not necessarily the whole day, because we really don't stay the whole day, then a value resort may be what you're looking for. Now, the thing about a value resort that you have to remember, if you have a family of 5, you cannot stay in a value resort without getting 2 rooms. You can get connecting rooms, which we've done because we are a family of 5, and at one point our son used to travel with us to go to Disney. So you can do that. Most rooms are 2, I believe, queen beds, and so 4 adults can stay in the room. 2 adults is one price, and then they charge you an additional $10 for every adult over the 2. Recently, they've even started charging for parking, which is something they weren't doing. And so I think at the value resorts is the most inexpensive place to park. And parking for them, I believe, is $13. Don't quote me on that, because it's, like I said, it's brand new, and when we go, it'll be the first time we're experiencing that. As of right now, the plan is to fly. That may change. Because we actually like having our car and like being able to go around outside of the parks. But for now, we're going to stick to the plans, which is the first part of my planner is about where we stay. And what I usually do when I start planning where we're going to stay, I print out a sheet with a map. And this one says All-Star Sports. Now, I've been looking online for a room, and we are still leaning towards staying at the All-Star Sports, but I saw a better price for the All-Star Movies on my phone, and so when we actually make the reservation, that'll decide between music, movies, and All-Star Sports. All-Star Sports was actually one of the very first value resorts that was built, and so a lot of people feel like it's the oldest one, and it's not as up to date as some of the newer ones, because there are 3. There is All-Star Sports, which was the first. There's All-Star Music, and there's All-Star Movies. And we've stayed at All-Star Sports, and we've stayed at All-Star Music. And then there is another one that's considered a value resort, but it's a little bit more pricey than the 3 original value resorts, and that is Pop Century. And we've actually stayed at Pop Century. Also a few times, and I really liked it. So last year we stayed at All-Star Sports for the first time, and I was surprised. I actually liked it. And not that anything is any different. Each one is themed differently by Disney, and they have just recently started updating them, so they're not, and the rooms are not as themed as they used to be. But right now the All-Star Music is still themed pretty much like Mickey and Minnie type of look, and it's really bright colors and everything. But outside of all of them, the hotels, they like it screams. So if you have small children, it's a perfect place for your children to go because they will enjoy themselves. If I'm not mistaken, each one has, I think, 3 pools or 2 pools, and they're large pools. Tiny pools. They just don't have any slides or extra water features, but in the hot August sun, if you just want to get out somewhere and get cooled off, there are pools provided, and it's still fun for your children. When we went last year, we stayed at All Star Sports, and we stayed on the bottom floor, which I was surprised. I really liked the bottom floor. I usually ask for one of the top floors because then I feel like I won't hear the noise as much. And even one time when we stayed at Pop Century, we stayed on the top floor, and we had a view of the parking lot, but we also had a view of the trees and stuff. This time we actually had a view of the little courtyard area at All-Star Sports. And one of the things that I liked about the All-Star Sports was the fact that it was the very first hotel that you came into when you came through the gates of the Value Resorts, because all 3 resorts are lined up together, and you go through a gate. And when we arrived, we realized, and I don't know how I missed this, that All-Star Sports was right there at the beginning of the gate. So when you've been in the park all day, or you've been out shopping, or you've been in the heat of Florida, and you get back to your room, it is so nice to be able to just come through the gate, and immediately where we were actually staying, we were parked. Our parking area was right there at the entrance of the Value Resort. It wasn't as easy to walk to the food court where we were, but we didn't really use the food court except for every once in a while to go get some coffee in the morning, or we would just drive our car around to the front and then go in, get our coffee, and then leave. So it may not be the most elaborate of the hotels, but it's very convenient for where it is. So that was one of the things I really liked about it. I'm trying to think what else. One of the things that's different now, if you've not been to Disney in a very long time, is that you now get a magic band. And on this magic band, you if you do a package, you will get the magic band in the mail, and it comes with little luggage tags. Now, I don't know if we'll get that this time because we are actually going to be doing a military tickets for our park visit, and so I'm not really sure. I'll have to ask my travel agent. And that's the other thing. I know I don't have to use a travel agent, but I use a travel agent because and I've used the same one for many years. I would say probably up to 10 years we've used the same travel agent, and I use dreamsunlimited.com. It's not sponsored, but we've been able to use the same travel agent. We just, when it's time for us to make our reservations, we go in to their website, and I can even choose which agent I would like to use. And I've had the best agent that, as far as I'm concerned, she's one of the best agents. Excuse me. She's gotten us discounts after we've already booked and changed it. Excuse me. And then on this last trip, she called us to let us know that there was a decrease in the cost of our hotel room. And we didn't have to do anything. She had already done it by the time she contacted us. She makes our dinner reservations for us, so I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. and make the phone calls. She didn't do our fast pass for us, but we did that, and it was not very hard. One of the new things that I'll talk about later is the app that you can put on your phone, and you can make a lot of reservations. You can change them. You can do your fast pass on it, and that's what I really love about the Magic Band. Is the Magic Band is like your room key. It's also what you use to shop with. Is connected to your debit or credit card, and it also is what you use to get in for the fast pass ride. I might have already said that. When you get to the hotel, you can actually go online and check in, but we actually like going into the lobby and checking in at the front desk. And last year it was really, really good that we did that, because when we walked in, we were standing in line, and when it came time for us to go up and check in, and usually check-in time is either 3 or 4 o'clock, but sometimes you can check in. You can check to see if your room is available earlier. And when you make reservations with your travel agent, or when you do it yourself, there are places where you can put requests for certain things. Like if you want to be on a certain floor, if you want to be in a certain building. There are 2 buildings, I believe, that you have to pay an additional fee for, because it's closer to the lobby area and to the food court. The food court there is, it has all types of food. It's not anything open. Proper fancy. It's not sit down dining, but it is like a cafeteria style. But they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I think it's up until like 11 o'clock at night. So if you get back and you really want a snack to take back to your room, you can do that. I'm not sure about the cost for this now, but the usual cost for the refilled mug that you can get, I think, is right under $20. I want to say it's $19. It might be more by next year. It used to be a time where you could refill it for your entire trip, and so I think it used to be a time where you could actually just bring it back and refill, and people did for a lot of years, but you can no longer do that anymore. It has a chip in there, so it's actually good for the time that you are reserved in your rooms, until the day you leave. But this mug will give you coffee, sodas, and hot chocolate, I believe. Now, I don't drink coffee, but my husband and my daughter would go in every morning to get a cup of coffee, and we would take it with us and get in our car, and they would have the coffee before we went into the parks. The little cute story I was going to tell you about this. When we checked in, we didn't realize that we were talking to a manager, and he asked us where we were from, was this our first visit, and we said no. At the time last year, we were celebrating my daughter's birthday and my husband and my anniversary, because it was our 34th anniversary. Yes, our 34th anniversary. And we were just having a conversation with the guy while we were waiting to check in, and he ended up giving us free mugs for our trip, as a congratulations on celebrating birthday and anniversary. And then he gave us, he made sure we got special buttons. We took a special picture. It was like a magical moment. So you just never know what's going to happen when you get to Disney. I was going to give you a little bit more information about All-Star Sports. I'm looking at my computer. I talked about how many people can fit in a room. I talked about the room view. You could get a parking view, or you could get a pool view. I think those are the ones that cost a little bit more. Or you could have like a courtyard view, which is what we had on our last trip. There are 3 floors, and they do have elevators, and they do have stairs. What's different about those, a lot of the Disney resorts, except for the deluxe, because I think even the moderates, you walk in from the outside to your room, and you can go in. But inside, it's got 2 nice comfortable beds. It for now, until they've done some redoing of some, it has a table and chair so you can set up to eat, or you can put your laptop up, use it as a desk area. It has a big screen TV that plays Disney all day long. It has a refrigerator, and then it has a separate bathroom and toilet area, and then a little closet area, and then a sink area. Now the values don't have double sinks, they only have a single sink, but there's a curtain area, and because it's not connected directly to the bathtub and the toilet, it works out well, because some people can be getting ready while the other person is still in the bathroom, and that's what we do. We tend to take little cubes. I wish I had one in front of me that we can put our stuff in, and each person has their own separate little cube. I sometimes take extra hangers because we actually unpack when we get there, because we usually stay for 6 to 8 days, and so you want to kind of make it feel like home, and so that's what we do. I would suggest taking additional power strip, because if you got laptop and iPad and cell phones for more than 1 or 2 people, you're gonna need a little extra couple of plugs. Let's see. Like I said, your magic band is also your room key. So when you get to your room, you'll use your magic band and it'll unlock your door for you. And this is called a rapid refill mug. And I think there's like a few minutes in between. You can't just go back, fill it up right away because of the chip. So you have to wait a few minutes. You can fill it up and then you can come back later on and refill it. And that's once you pay the initial fee, that's good for the whole week. They also have Disney shops where you can get in trouble because before we even get to the park, the last year we bought stuff before we had even stepped foot in the park. Let's see. Okay, there are 2 pools. They do have elevators and stairways. I covered that. Check-in time is 4 p.m. and checkout time is 11 a.m. Okay, but you can get express checkout. You just have to ask at the front desk in advance. What they'll basically do, if everything has already been paid off on your room, they will slip a little piece of paper under your door, and then you can just take your stuff and leave. I think that pretty much covers it. In my next installment, I will talk about why I have additional resort maps in my book. I will tell you about resort hopping and which resorts we like to resort hop to and why we like to resort hop. And this will be a continuous series. There might be a couple of videos in between, but I just thought this would be something neat to do, and I hope that for someone who's not ever been before, that this is some information that they could use. I will put links below for the books where you can get them, and also my 2 favorite planning sites, and I will also put a link in, well, there's usually always a link in below of my Disney page. I have a blog, and it has all of my trip reports on it. It has videos, and it has links to some of my favorite Disney shops. It has links to some of my favorite Disney YouTubers, and it has links to some of my favorite places for you to plan your Disney trip. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask below. I really want to say thank you for watching my video. Thank you for the new subscribers. I went from 7 to now 23, and I know that's not a lot of people, but for me, I appreciate every last one of them, and I just feel blessed that you even stopped by to watch my videos. So until I see you next time, have a blessed day. Bye.